Are video games sexist? Some feminists claim that video games are sexist, but there is a split opinion on this matter. One of the most cliched plots in the history of gaming is the damsel in distress scenario. This is when the protagonist is male, and the plot of the story is to rescue the female in distress. In my head, this seems like a normal thing to do. You're not going to let them keep her or kill her, so it's your job to save them. Yet this scenario is regarded as sexist because the damsel is a female and powerless to help herself. As a kid, I grew up playing games like Mario, which used this scenario, and I enjoyed playing the games. For kids, it's good to learn that you should help females that are being abducted. If we changed the game so that we didn't have to go out and save the damsels, wouldn't that be negative? If kids learn this behavior and decide not to help girls in real life, or is helping a female sexist in general? This is making my brain hurt. So let's move on to what I believe sexism in video games really mean. Objectification of women is persistent in video games. Women and men are typically objectified in different ways in accordance to their traditional gender roles. Women often presented sexually because games are made by guys for guys, and they want to sell their products, so they market it to the heterosexual males. With the knowledge that sex sells, we notice that developers put in females as background decorations and sexual objects. That's why we see so many games that have strip clubs in them. They have made it so many times that they literally mastered the art of creating strip clubs. They look so real that it's pretty sad. Men have been stereotyped and objectified, but doing that to females is obviously different, am I right? Playing a muscular guy with tight clothing isn't the same thing as playing a sexy female. Well, actually it is. Video games are fantasy games where people want to look good, so you can't hold it against the creators to make their characters look appealing. But there is a limit to how good you look though. If you're playing a medieval war game, for example, you probably should have armor on your body, not a seashell bikini. I think that's where some of the problems lie. The developers get into their fan service and hypersexualize characters to the point where it can get absurd. And then there are games that just make you question how the developers still have a job. In Grand Theft Auto 5, you can participate in random events, one of which you sneak into a person's backyard and take photos of them having sex. What kind of image is that sending to people? That is basically voyeurism. I mean, Grand Theft Auto has had a history for being sexist. With each game, they add more features to prostitutes. They add more scripted events which portray women as deranged or stupid. Like, it's pretty ridiculous. A similar game that comes to mind when talking about objectifying women is Saints Row, where you literally have a side mission to pick up prostitutes around the area. Objectification is not good because it further promotes these gender roles and sexist ideas which ultimately harm both men and women. If you thought objectification of women or hypersexualizing them is bad, then buckle up, because sexualized violence is a different ballgame. Instead of just dressing up females, you also murdered them or raped them just for fun. When people play games and kill over and over again, I find it pretty crazy how that doesn't make someone go mad. There are apparently no links to real-world violence in video games, but I'm sure it has an effect, at least in some slight way. In video games, we see men get shot and killed all the time, and it's not really a big deal. The images we see when women get beat up for cheating, killed, and raped get pretty intense. The developers give off a misogynistic vibe, which basically means that they hate women. While I was looking for games that feature misogyny, I came across a YouTuber that had the time to lasso a woman in Red Dead Redemption, tie her up, and place her on a train track. Then he waited for her to get run over by the train. You know, it's kind of scary to think that someone would do something like that. Why is that even a feature in the game? What's even more interesting is that if you do that with a prostitute for the first time, you get an achievement. You actually get rewarded for killing a woman in that fashion. Red Dead Redemption has lots of sexist altercations and scripted events, and I'm not even surprised because it was created by Rockstar, the very same guys that bring you Grand Theft Auto. On a more positive note, there has been progress on creating female-friendly games. There are female protagonists that are strong and don't rely on males. You can choose women in fighting games where you can beat the shit out of men because that's not sexist. Even though the females are kind of sexualized, I believe women still enjoy playing as an attractive character. I mean, why else would women cosplay if they hate it so much? More games have a feature at the start where you can pick between being a male or female, which in my opinion is the best part. I always found it fun to select my own character rather than play the preset that most developers decide on. Some of the strong female protagonists, like Faith from Mirror's Edge, give hope to female gamers because of its success. If developers realized that there is a market among women in the video game industry, then they would develop more female-family oriented games. But that could also be problematic because if games get separated by gender, then there will still be that girl game versus boy game stigma. You know how boys like playing with toy cars and girls like playing with ponies and Barbies. We all know that girls also like playing action adventure and shooters just as much as guys, so maybe instead of creating a female video game section, just offer all games to allow you to select at the beginning to be either male or female. You could customize your own person, that would be the best option. If games aren't sexist, then there shouldn't be a problem with the story no matter what gender you decide to pick. In conclusion, I deem video games that have sexualized violence and misogynistic practices as sexist. The games that play into these stereotypes may seem rude, but to me, they don't strike me as the problem. Both males and females are objectified and stereotyped, and to fix this, I believe that we should just be able to fully customize our characters before we start playing the game.